She saw me on the street and just attacked me and cut my hair. Big meaty.
Is that your work?
No, that's mine.
Oh.
It was hairless night.
She had it coming, I guarantee. Yeah, I've had that grease song in my head all day. Those hairless nights.
I forgot to say about the lady that gave us the money at the last council meeting. I'll say it now. Or do we have to wait till the next council meeting?
Next council meeting.
It's not on the agenda.
That's right.
You know better. You've been doing
That's
this for how long?
too
16 years?
I don't know. How long have I been on? 16 years?
Too darn.
Yeah. It's too long.
Have you guys sign it real quick?
Told you it was gonna be a full house. Jen's gonna be sitting right next to me. If he comes.
There's a couple more people coming on too.
It's all right.
Oh, look at all the smiling faces. Have you given that sign, please?
Justin, can you grab me a chair?
You're more than welcome.
Yeah.
Nobody gets by without signature.
Gary, glad to make it.
You should see what that first question says. That's in there. There's not much you can do.
Well, we're here for tonight for an information meeting, and Jim, I guess you're.
Am I ready?
You're up.
Man.
Well, cool.
Man of the hour.
Well, I don't want to stand this way and then stand this way and then stand this way. So I'm going to stand up here. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Could you come over here too, Mark? Right, Mark?
Yeah.
So I can see you too, because I want to, my feeling about this whole thing is, everybody's thoughts do matter. All, completely, everybody's thoughts matter. I've been thinking a lot about this, a lot. And the first thing that I gotta say about this whole deal is, we all have good neighbors, really good neighbors. And without good neighbors, you don't have anything. And we also have a good city council members rather, not members, but a good city council. And we have good city council members. And what we do have is we have everybody that's been up here has all been elected by you guys. And if you say they're not doing their job, then the next thing I have on here is we don't have any communication. And if something's not right, that's what this meeting is for, is to make it so we can do it. The other part of it is we can't have any more arguments and make things work. And it doesn't matter what we say and what was said to Kathy last meeting. I'm sorry, Kathy.
I just want it to be right.
And I understand. At the same time, we all ought to be nice enough to each other that we have a talking stick. But except we're grown-ups, we don't need a talking stick. If somebody's talking, don't interrupt them, period. It's not a shouting match. We're trying to figure out what's wrong and what's right. So saying all that, what started this whole rodeo is that I talked to Dick and Wendy one day when I was buying my mom's place. And I did a lot of paperwork, and there was a lot of paperwork that was not right in the city. There was a lot of paperwork that wasn't done right in the county. There was a lot of paperwork that wasn't done right with Jerry, my neighbor. There was a lot of paperwork that just flat wasn't done right, period. And as we're going along with this, I'm finding out that there's more paperwork that's not done right with Kathy's situation in the water line. So there's a lot of stuff here that does need to be found out, but what we need to do is have everybody hear what we are and make it so it's right. But anyway, what I asked Dick about was, I said, before anything's ever said, and Kathy's son, I can't remember what your
Desmond.
What?
Desmond.
Yeah, Desmond. Desmond said to me, he says, well, you didn't really start out right because you need to go to planning and zoning. I said, you know what? Before you go to planning and zoning, he was right. I mean, everybody has what happens first, the egg or the chicken or the egg. But whatever the case is, before you go to planning and zoning, you have to know what actually you want to do. And at the same time, you want to go to them in a nice enough manner that you don't offend anybody. At the same time, I wouldn't want to go to, and I can't remember you guys' folks' name, but I know that you guys are the second one on the wanted to have horse pasture and stuff. And you text me, and this is all going on. That's why I wanted to talk to you guys in person. But anyway, I could have came up to him and said, yeah, I'm thinking about developing it. And then you know what would have happened? It would have gone the other way. So what I did was I came and talked to Wendy and Dick, and I said, so if I do any developing up there, do I have to have a sewer line? And that's where things started going south in a hurry. He said, yep, if there's a sewer line, then you can put all these homes up there. And we got all excited, we were looking at it, I said, no, I'm going to do some checking. And that was all I said right at that moment. But I'm going to do some checking. But I have to start someplace, and these guys, they're good people to talk to too. So what I did was I talked to the place that I work for, and I asked him, I said, how much does it cost to put a sewer line in? He said, $160 a foot. So I also asked Dick, I said, where's the sewer line at? This was before I talked to Roger and asked him how much it cost to put a sewer line in. He said, well, it goes down the highway and you could go up and over. I said, well, I'll do some checking about it. So I did. He told me how much it was. Roger did. I came back here and I told Wendy and Dick, I said, well, there's none of that going to happen. Because for one, I wouldn't want to put that much in. And all that was right then was questioning and answering. And it wasn't to, before I would have done anything like that, I would have asked everybody else up there, because anybody in their right mind knows if there's a sewer line coming in and it's going by somebody's house, they have to attach it to it because somebody has to pay for it. So when you're running in a city and you put sewer lines in, whoever's closest to it has to put their sewer lines into it, along with there's a cost to it, involved to it. So at the same time, I'm not one that's going to say, okay, I'll do that, without asking you guys first. The other is about putting roads in. Matt, your wife, I can't remember your name either.
Jessica.
What?
Jessica.
Jessica. So I was over at Kathy's house, and Jessica came up and she said, well, one of the reasons I wouldn't want to have it done is because of the dust. And I mean, that makes perfectly good sense. Even though you are in the city, you don't want to have a whole bunch of dust. So there's a bunch of negatives going on with it, and everything is all in, there's not been any plans or nothing. What I did is I found out that it's zoned agriculture, like what Mark was saying. The other part was, I know that it does not belong to the county in any way. It's all in the city. So everything goes to the city and the city council about how things get divided. But before I even do it, I need to look at everything and say, now what would make the most sense? So Roger and I, we went out there and walked it, and Matt saw us up there, and I didn't. And I got so good at eyes, I couldn't tell if he was a cow or a bull elk by then. But anyway, I couldn't see it was Matt, but he saw us up there looking at what we were doing. It was, we were looking for one approach for that whole 3.9 acres below your guys' house. Not to, before anything ever even started, I wanted to see what it was. The next part was the place right beside me, or just below Jerry's house, just east of Jerry. That's another 3 acres. But I do know that if you sell a 3-acre parcel to somebody, or a 7.9 parcel, even though there's a road through it, if you sell it to a developer, they're going to have a heyday. Myself, I wanted to be able to, it's part of my retirement. My place of retirement is where I'm living right now. I'm not going to sell it to anybody. That's where I'm going to retire. At the same time, that other 7 acres down there, I want to develop it. And develop it, I mean, I want to sell the 3.9 acres as one parcel to make it so there's not a lot of people below you guys, beside Matt and Jessica. I don't want to have a lot of people running past Jerry and John, right? And
Yeah.
I don't want to have a bunch of people going past your place. I don't want a lot of traffic out on that road. However, the road will be another in a few minutes here. But what I would like to do is, and something else I talked to Jerry about, developing that other 3 acres up there, the ones just east of his house. I was thinking about putting my driveway across that road and then going up around and pulling right in front of Jerry's and going over to my house. And that's when Jessica said, you know what, the dust would, she was thinking about the dust, and I thought, that makes sense. I already have a driveway, all I have to do is change the way my driveway is, and the other 2 guys, they don't have to go all the way over there to get to that. They can go up through the middle of their place, so they wouldn't have to make any more dust than have to be, trying to cut it down. So anyway, what I've done up there so far, since everybody's seen these huge excavators up there, when I was working for Oxark, Roger was needing help. He asked me to go to work for him. The reason that excavator's up there, I lost $25,000 in retirement because I hadn't worked for Oxark for 5 years. And I told Roger that. He said, well, in lieu of you losing that, how about if I bring a couple excavators and help you develop your property some and not charge you for it because you're missing out on your retirement? And I said, perfect. That's why they're there. Not that I'm rich and not that I'm paying for it, but I actually am, because I quit one job to start another to help a friend. The same as I would help you guys if you guys need anything, and those excavators are there. Roger said, if you guys need something, I would help you do it. I mean, they're already here. It doesn't take long to move dirt. But anyway, that road that goes up on the hill, that is to go to the fence up there. I know that, Dick, you've been up to my place, and Jerry's been over to my place, and now what I have is on the old road that went to my grandma's, instead of going up between the chicken coop and the house, it goes around the bottom of my yard and then up around the back. And where the chicken house was, that's all leveled out. And that's where I'm going to put my barn for the cows that I'll put up on the hill. But anyway, the other place, the other 2, the 3.9 acres, and the other 2 places, I'm going to divide it and I want to sell it. At the same time, I want to make the road right for everybody. So that's what my plans are, and that is what has happened up there so far. The next thing that needs to be discussed, and it might not be in the right order, but is Kathy and Mark, they all said that they could shut the water off to everybody over there because there is no easement on the water line. But they said they would never do it because we're neighbors. And I appreciate that, what she had to say about that, but what I haven't asked for you guys, is there rules, regulations, or what about the main water line that goes up to us? You can put that question to whoever.
Well, that water line was put in there,
2004.
Just a
Put
minute.
in there a lot longer than 2004, whenever Browning put their cut stock plant in. That's where that's when the water line went in. It starts right here, and it goes right down the alley, and it goes all the way out, and clear down to Browning's. And it hooks to the people down below, like the Hive Gardeners and the Vallums and everybody that's out there. They're hooked to that water line right now.
Okay. So then that water, and I don't know, and I guess Wendy, can we ask you to look all this stuff up?
Well, Justin found a map.
You're talking.
I'm here.
Can you
On
tell us about the map and,
well, on our construction map from 2004, when they redid the water lines, it clearly shows a 15-foot water line easement that goes through there. And I gave Kathy a copy of that when she was sort of having a tussle with TDS as well, because they crossed through there with a phone line, and so, I mean, the map definitely shows a water line easement, but I couldn't prove that it showed a phone line easement.
It does show an easement for the water line, but it does
Yes,
not.
I can go get you, it's here, and Kathy has a copy, but now, how that easement exists, I don't know. It's drawn on the map, but I mean, in writing, is it somewhere in writing? I don't know. I
have you
mean,
found anything?
It is,
it is in
it's in
writing?
writing,
She has a copy of it.
I have a copy of it, but it's not where you think it is.
No, so,
I'm getting it just a minute, I'm shaking a little bit,
it's okay.
because you
Just relax,
misrepresented a few
we are
things.
just all friends and that, so we want to make it work this way.
You may look at it as long as you like, if you want to ask questions, I'll be glad to
It
ask
has an
questions.
instrument number also, it's registered with the county.
What's that?
It's registered with the county, it has an instrument number if they want it for their records.
Look at it as
So-
long as you like, and then I'll explain it to you.
Before I go any further, do you guys feel like the water line is one of the most important parts here?
Not the only thing.
Does everybody agree on that? So keep on, what I'm trying to do is I want to make everything consistent, so everybody's all in agreement and we're making this meeting be as efficient as it can be.
The road is equally as important though, but this is one issue, if you
Right.
want to deal with that first.
But it's
off.
just, the reason is because if there's a water line down, you can't put a road on until after you change what the water line is. The water line goes first. And then after that, if there needs to be changes, then it can happen.
Fine, go ahead and look at it.
And I don't have my glasses, well, I've got glasses, but I don't
I'll
have
show
the
it
right
to you when
ones.
you get it back.
Here you go, Jim.
No.
So do you guys understand what the
The
water
water
line
line
Where
is
they-
platted where
That's
it
what I
was
showed
supposed to
you.
be, but they did not put the water
Then where you
line where
located
it
the water
was
line?
platted.
Is this the copy, it's the same as this?
But it's on my property.
Issue deed.
The easement is all
This
on
little.
his property, not
So-
any on me.
Is this the?
We won't talk
Oh my
about it,
gosh.
but
Okay.
I don't know.
I better see that. Old Man Street. Oh, there we go, right there. So this line right here, is that the water line? Is that what you guys see? That is a water line?
Should we get a copy of that?
It follows the road
It's
out.
the same as this.
I can give you copies of everything.
That one just has good where it goes all the way out to Ralphie's on it.
Okay.
Yes?
And that might be further on
Okay,
the
everything in this.
Are you gonna cover the issue with it?
The issue, and I don't want to talk out of turn, but there's no sense in pouring over that until you hear the issue with it. If you look
They
at
never
that,
said you were gonna shut off the water, tell
We're
them.
looking at the
yeah,
same.
that was a misunderstanding, and I never said that. And if you think back, I never said I was gonna turn off anybody's water.
No, I-
Not me.
You're right.
And
You
I'm the
said,
property owner, correct?
you said,
No, not me.
you know what? Kathy, we had already agreed when one person talks, then the other person has to listen.
Okay,
And I'm willing to listen to you if you have something to say. When I'm talking right now, when I said with all three of you guys there, at your doorstep, what was said was that the water could be shut off. Whoever said it was, the water could be shut off, but you wouldn't because of the neighbors.
I said I wouldn't because of the neighbors.
Okay,
I never
see?
said,
What it said was that they don't have a water line, an easement for where the water line is.
and you don't. That's the easement you're looking
Yeah,
at.
that's way out of context.
But
I was there. That's
Why don't
way
you
out of
ask Justin
context.
when he
What I said?
located?
Yeah, dude, you're here telling people to listen to you in good faith, but you're not showing good faith. That's not what was said. You had 3 people staying.
Well, that's why I'm asking.
Okay.
That is what I'm asking for.
What you've got there is the legal document that is recorded at the county.
This one?
That one is a legal document recorded at the county. Look at the map.
Yeah.
Then ask Justin where he located the water line.
Well,
Ask him.
I can't say, well, I mean, I don't have a map in front of me. I know where the water line is, but I don't know whose property it is. I have no clue.
Just
I
tell him
know-
where it is, where you
I know
located
where the
it.
water line is.
So,
It's not there.
which water line is she talking about that you found it?
There's 2 water lines. There's an old water line that's cast iron or metal that goes right at your right at the bottom of your driveway.
Okay.
But then there's a main water line. The new main water line is more towards the middle of the road because what Desmond said is that they had the same problem TDS did when they bored through there. They hit something and they had to move the line left to the middle of the road.
On my road.
So I marked it. It's out there. You can see both water lines are there.
So which one continues to Browning's cut stop?
Well, they discontinued the old one, and they switched the water to the new one. And so it's the one towards the middle, more of the middle of the road is the new water line.
The only usable water line goes in the middle of the road.
Okay.
The other, it hooks back into where the old water line was and follows the same path past my road,
So it is going down where the old water line is?
Correct.
except for there.
So what, Desmond, what you're saying is you feel that the city council should give you guys easement?
No.
for-
They can't grant an easement. She would have to grant the easement. If
Well,
she's the property owner.
I mean, she should ask for the easement? That these guys should ask the easement from you guys?
I don't have to ask for an easement.
But no,
You
what she's
guys-
saying is the council should have got an easement.
Yes.
Talk, so one of the other of you guys
Yeah.
need to talk so we understand what you're
Okay, well, it's
saying.
her property, but I have a clearer picture, so who do you want to talk to?
Whichever one wants to talk, but only one of you.
All right,
So who's gonna talk?
I'll talk.
Okay then, what does she need?
Well, if you're moving the water line, if there's a need to move because the road is changing or whatnot, then they would need to obtain an easement to do that.
For what I would be doing, there is no need for moving the road.
Okay, but
Or
the road,
I'm sorry, moving the water line.
okay,
Then no problem. Go ahead.
All right, well, if that's, so that's what the biggest issue is. If you thought I was going to move the water line, I would need an easement?
no, the city
No.
would need it to move it.
Okay, but since we don't need to move the water line, everything is fine.
No. But let him speak.
I'm going to, no, I'm talking to you guys, we're still on
How
the
are you
same
going to
subject.
move the main,
That part's, we're not talking about moving the road right now, we're talking about the water line.
the valve, and the meter are on your property?
And that's gonna be something I talk about here.
And that's what I thought you were talking about right now.
No, we were talking about the main water line that goes to Brownings.
Okay.
John?
Do you have a question?
Well, I don't know what you're doing to the road. Evidently, it's not on the agenda.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is?
So what the deal is with the
So,
road?
Are you gonna, do something to the road from Kathy's house to our house?
There will be a change in the road, but
Why?
it will not, because Kathy will not allow me to put any heavy equipment on her property without an easement.
Okay. So beyond Kathy's, do you plan on doing anything to the road?
No.
Oh, okay, that's good.
There will be something done. Pardon me, there's going to be a turnaround put out there for emergency vehicles.
Out where?
And that's yet to be determined, but it will be on the lower portion of the road that goes out towards you guys'
And that's
place.
for emergency vehicles?
Yes. Because after 1,000 feet, you're
How
supposed,
long we lived out there without that?
you're right.
Long time.
But you know what? The city council said to have anything done, they have to have a turnaround for an easement, or they have to have a turnaround.
Okay, well, progress.
But that's why there would be a turnaround out there, is for a fire truck or any other emergency vehicles.
Or equipment?
Even, what?
Or equipment?
Equipment or garbage trucks.
Oh, okay.
Garbage truck doesn't come though past your driveway.
Right. But if there was a turnaround out there, if they could come up, unload, go around, turn around and come back,
They would do that?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just trying to make it so whatever is best for everybody to be that way. That's how come you guys are here and we're talking about it.
Then I have a question more for the city council then. Why are we doing a turnaround now when we've never had one out there?
You want me to answer that?
It's a private road.
Mainly, no one ever asked for one.
Oh, okay.
So who asked for one?
The city council, or not the city council, but the, what's her name?
Planning.
Cynthia, planning and zoning.
Because there's state laws that require that when you have a cul-de-sac like that, you're supposed to have a 70-foot turnaround at the end for fire equipment,
Okay.
you know, things like that.
Has it gone to planning and zoning yet?
No.
No. Okay, okay.
But that has to happen either way, whether you put houses out there or not. Or
No.
does that
No.
only have to happen because you're putting houses out there?
If I put houses out there, there will be one out there.
And if you don't, there won't.
Why? Why?
There doesn't have to be if you weren't
Right.
sectioning it off and selling, but because you are and changing the road, then there has to be one.
If I were to put houses out there, if I were to sell it to put houses out there, I would put the turnaround out there just because I have the equipment to do it and I can make the road so it does go.
But also because you have to have it to be able to section it off and sell it that way.
Yes, sir.
Is the issue because it's gonna become a city road, right? That's why you need the turnaround.
No,
So it won't be a city road,
no,
okay?
it will not be a city road. But she said if I do something out there, Cynthia, right?
Mm-hmm.
She said if I do something out there, I have to be in compliance to put a road out there, even though it's on my own property, because the people that go out there.
But the city code also requires that when you subdivide land, it's supposed to have facing onto a city road.
I'm supposed to what?
Have the property facing onto a city road. When that was originally subdivided, we didn't have a planning and zoning commission, and so.
I don't understand what you're saying.
I'm saying that you're not supposed to have it on a private road like that. That was grandfathered in. So,
You're not supposed to have it on a private road, is that what you said?
yeah.
So, can I ask you this then?
Mm-hmm.
If it is on there the only reason I would put one on there was to make it so if there is a fire out there, I don't know, Mike is not here.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, you were talking about subdividing it and keeping it a private road. I'm saying, if you look at City Code, Title 12, Public Improvement, it says, any owner seeking to develop property within the city or seeking connection to the city water or sewer system shall be responsible for paying for the extensions. And they go on also, the next section, residential street tells about it, and you have to have it on it. You have to have a residential street, you have to be a public street. And so you'd have to get the road accepted by the city. You see, when the houses are out there now were put in, we didn't have planning and zoning, we didn't have a lot of the city code. And so they're grandfathered in when they passed these codes back in 1995.
So it would go from being a private road to a city road, is that what you're
If
saying?
he's gonna subdivide it. You'd have to get it accepted by the city.
Are you saying though the access would be off of your road? Like you were going to put the access off of your driveway somehow?
No, off the main road.
Off the main road?
So,
Can I ask a question?
yes, sir.
So Cynthia, just so I'm clear, so we're talking, is it Riverview Street?
Yeah, Riverview
Or
Drive.
Drive, I'm sorry. So you're saying that would have to become a city road, that the city would have to accept and maintain and do all that if he wants to subdivide and put houses?
Right, so, and for the city to accept it, you would have to bring it up to the level that you
Right,
want,
to make it
with the
the right
proper
width
width
and
and
everything else.
surface.
Unless the council says he doesn't have to.
Right, but then the council, when they were looking at Brown's addition out there, they didn't accept that road, even though it was a paved road in much better shape, because it wasn't wide enough.
Thank you.
Say that one more time.
Oh, Brown's addition here in town, the city did not accept that road, it's still a private road, even though it's paved, because it wasn't wide enough.
And that's the only reason?
Yeah, it's a nice, I mean, it's, you know, they've got the easements as far as I know, I can't remember now, it's back a ways, but they got the land for easements on either side, and the road was not paved to the full 24 feet. You know, the other parts, so it wasn't accepted. Dick was around then, so he probably remembers better than I do on that one.
So, two-part question. So the city can choose to accept the road if it was brought up to the city standards. They can either choose to accept the road or not to choose. What about the rule that Cynthia's talking about, how the driveways basically have to exit onto a city street? Does the city have the power to not follow that rule?
I didn't look into that one to see.
Say that louder, please.
I was just wondering if the city has the power to not follow that rule that Cynthia's talking about, how your driveways from the three lots would have to exit onto a city street. I mean, can they choose to not follow that rule? I don't know if it's like a law rule, I don't know the authority over it.
I know, but I'm looking for it.
Because they can choose not to accept the street and take ownership of it. So I
That's
didn't know if
true.
they can choose not to follow this rule.
If we got the city code, it's usual to follow the city code, that's what the
Okay.
council normally does.
What did you say?
I said the council normally follows the city code.
So then do you have a code to follow to put a road there?
Yes, you look at the part, I don't know whether you use your computer or not, but the city code is online, and anybody can look at it. You go to the city website, and it has Unicode, and you go there, and you can read, and it has a part on the city streets, telling you all the details of what has to be, what the standards
You
that they
can
need.
do a search for city streets, maybe, or the streets.
Well, you just go to Unicode, then you go on the left, and the different titles there, and you go to one of the streets, that's real quick.
Very user-friendly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've got a good website.
Yeah. I can do it.
It tells you how wide the pavement has to be, and how thick the gravel has to be, and which sort of gravel.
So if the city, did that answer your question?
Yes.
Yes, no?
I don't think they know whether they can choose to follow it or not, but I mean, at least it's out there.
No, I know that, and I'm gonna continue on with that, so that's what I'm, because I agree, how can it be one way and not the other? And that's what a lot of the problem has been. I'm trying to understand what you guys are saying too, because I don't want to slide you, I want to hear what you say, because I don't want to do something that isn't right. At the same time, by putting in I don't understand how you can have that kind of a road out there when you don't maintain Old Main Street.
That's a good question.
Okay, then if that's the case then, what's going on with Old Main Street and who is in charge of TDS? Before you say anything, just a minute. Kathy, You said you did something with TDS somehow or another.
Yep.
And whatever the outcome is, if it was satisfactory to you, that's good.
It's not, but
Okay.
it doesn't have to do with any of this,
Well, it does.
No.
because it brought information to my life.
I have to talk.
Okay.
So the TDS actually had a contract company present to the city council their plan to put in a line, and the city said it looked good, fine, but they didn't take into account that they did not have easements to go through there. So they went through believing they were on a city road, but it was not a city road. Led to an enormous amount of headache and had to be resolved through the courts. So this is her concern now. If your road has to be a city road, and her road is a private road between the city road and your road, how do you rectify that? If the city doesn't obtain an easement, and the city has made no attempt to obtain an easement.
So who can I address that question to?
I don't know about that.
That would be something maybe to talk to the attorney about.
In the last meeting, it was repeatedly said, just put the road on the other side of her. Do you all remember that?
Yep.
Just put it on the other side.
Pardon me. The reason we're here is to try to make things better and communication. So don't be mad about what's happening.
I'm not mad.
But that is what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to figure out what to do and if they need to, whatever they need to do to get the easements so they are good for you guys. Because I want it to be right. And you guys want it to be right.
Did you hear them say that?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I want to say.
At the very beginning of the meeting, I also asked Kathy that we said we were sorry for what, I was sorry for what happened as well. So going back to where I went sideways on the water line, what is a resolution of the water line?
Well, it seems like there's more information that needs to be researched.
Go ahead, Kathy.
If you're not going to involve that water line, that issue doesn't have to be decided today. It was my understanding we were going to be talking about that main valve, meter, and whatnot, which is on your property. The only problem I have with that is, how is that going to be dealt with without involving my property?
Yes, Desmond?
This could all be resolved with an easement from the city once again, because city road easements have utilities built into them.
Yes.
So, the city obtains a road easement, then they obviously obtain the water line easement with it, that they don't currently have.
Council, what is your suggestion about that?
How do we go about that? What does it entail? What happens? I have to talk to the attorney. This is not something that I've touched before.
No, and that's all I want to know is what could be done to, not to, like I said, everybody here is all good, there's nothing bad, it's just everything has to get finalized and finished so everything else can continue on.
Dylan, you
Yeah.
seem more knowledgeable than everybody
Yeah.
on this, so when you're saying the city would need an easement for
Correct.
for the water line?
So there's no, where I believe the water line lies and where Justin located it,
Okay,
is currently on her property,
like under that section of road?
right in the middle of the road.
Perfect, okay.
So the plan they got, when they got approval for this, is to go, and they bought the easement from his father, who owned the land before you, too.
I have a record of it.
But they purchased that,
You say they,
the city.
okay,
The city purchased an easement
okay,
for the water line,
okay,
the new water line. That plan was diverted
okay.
and moved from that. And they put the water line right up the middle of the road instead.
Where
Now
it is
they-
now,
Yes,
okay,
that was done with permission though.
okay.
but no easement.
Okay.
So it's a mess, just like with TDS. She had the same issue with TDS, and she feels like she was misled by the city by approving that plan on her land. And she had to rectify that through the courts at her cost.
Okay.
She doesn't want this to have to happen again. So if you're gonna need that to be a city road, then the city has to do it. Them talking back and forth is not gonna help anything.
So that's what so if the city started going down that route, which it sounds like a lot of us really don't, would that mean going through Kathy's property somewhere, or are we going around, or, I guess that's what I'm confused, where would
The
the
road is
easement?
mine,
Right, where would
so
the
that's what we're
easement-
talking about, the road.
Right,
That everybody uses and I don't have a problem.
There was never a plan to move the water line, Tom.
Excuse me?
There was never a plan to move the main.
You're right. Oh, well, what was on the agenda then?
Right.
It very clearly says
I was
that.
talking about his meter.
Yeah, and that's what I said too. If he's not gonna touch anything but that, then don't worry
That's
about
all,
that.
I don't understand what's going on here with the water line.
So the water line, if we put the water right where the road, with the meter, where the road would go, it would need to go further west.
We moved the meter.
What?
We would move the meter.
You can move the meter?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, if you can move
The main wouldn't be moved, is what I don't
so
understand.
we're moving the water meter,
Just
so you can put
just his
a
service.
road in?
it's just a service out in the PRV valve, right?
Remember when we were out there that day, they had
Yeah.
the meters right
Or
there?
there's a section, or air gap, or,
It's a PRV valve.
yeah, PRD, and, yeah. So,
But that's
That
so you
was-
can go around, so Kathy's property isn't involved, we just need to move that so you can go around it, is that?
That was what was said at the last council meeting, yes.
Okay, is that what
Yes.
this is?
Yep,
Okay.
but I wanted to know before I started any of this, what needed to be done with the water line to make sure that, because if I put a road up there to satisfy what the city's ordinances are, I wanted to make sure the water line issue was taken care of.
Gotcha.
Can I mention something?
Yes.
I felt like at the last meeting, the council heavily tried to pressure my mom to give permission. She can't accept that amount of liability. She doesn't know if he's bonded, she doesn't know if he's insured. She can't accept if he were to hurt someone himself, if he were to destroy the road. She doesn't know. She has to be protected. So this needs to be done through an easement, whether it's obtained by the city or by Jen, but it needs to be done through an easement, and that's all she maintains.
And I guess that's where so the easement, I guess I'm so confused as to, and I apologize if I'm not catching on. So the easement would go,
I can show you.
There's no way to enter his property without going through her property.
gotcha, so she would have to grant an easement, is what you're saying, through her property? Or
To end her liability, yes.
Yeah, I totally understand, I'm just trying to understand, I guess, the easement part.
But I guess my question is maybe the city doesn't need an easement if this isn't gonna be a city road, like he just said, that it was not gonna be a city road, it would be a private road, and you're just putting the turnaround down there for protection. But if it needs to be subdivided, he needs to have it be a city road. And that was what was on the agenda for two different, that was what's been discussed, I thought, maybe I was not
And
clear.
that is exactly right. So what Cynthia says is, to you, the city council, is that if I divide that, I have to put a road there. Am I getting it right now? If I divide it, I have to put a road there that is acceptable by the city, but not a city road.
No, it has to be accepted as a city road by the city.
So you would have to come to city council.
No.
What?
It would stop being a private road if you're going to subdivide.
Do you guys have the map that everyone can see that shows where Kathy's property is? Or what? Or new?
Kathy's property's up here. They call it county road, but it isn't. She's up here. And then these are the houses that built, and this is the big piece of land here too.
To clarify, at the beginning of this whole project, certain maps were used from the GIS maps on the internet. and they overlay the property boundaries as close as they can get them onto a aerial map. But there is a variance, and literally everybody you talk to at the county will tell you this. So if you're looking at that, you think that that road is on his property. But if, when you look at it in actuality from a survey, the road is on my property.
No, she's talking about this part up here. This part down here is on his property.
Okay, hers is here.
Well, actually, no, not quite there.
It's
I've
just
got a
on
better map, I've got a better map.
Okay.
This one will show it.
this corner.
That's an old survey, but that'll show it. Bear in mind, proposed means just proposed.
So Kathy, not to muck things up, but you know we're selling our house. When we went to sell our house and I got our plat map, it changed from when we bought it. And the
I have
county
three different-
updated their system like 3 years ago and it mucked up all of the plat maps.
And you are who, I'm sorry?
Tory, right, we live in Riverview.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the very
Oh,
end.
Marines, okay.
Yeah, and so when we bought ours, the measurements are still the same, but all their shapes and orientations are
Exactly.
different.
I have three different maps that
Right.
show three different things.
So their property has the same acreage and size, and ours still looks the same. They shrunk it down, but the numbers are still the same, and then same with Bob Yuki's changed. I think Smith's changed too.
So this is another reason why it's gotta be right now, because you're selling your place.
Yeah.
Then another person's gonna walk into this, he's dividing it 3 times, they're gonna walk into this. Everybody's walking into this not knowing what's going on.
So I'm saying the county maps are all
Yes.
kind
But
of
you talk
work
to anybody in the county and they'll tell you that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
they're boarded up
every
right
person.
now, so titles fix them, so that might be an issue too for the.
Okay, so continuing on, the water line, if the water line does not get moved, then there does not have to be an easement, correct? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yes, but I would like to ask, the meter will be moved unless an easement is agreed upon on the existing road. If that water main is moved, like you guys do all the time, who will be doing that work?
I will,
The city?
and we are like.
If the meter's moved,
Who will be? Who
if
will
the
be
meter's
doing it?
moved,
Yeah, if the meter's moved.
if the meter's moved, yeah,
You guys,
the city does.
okay.
Go
And
ahead.
nothing has to change with the water line for the other houses to go in. You just connect to the existing water line that runs down the middle of the road? Is that where it is?
So by what that line, by what that map says, the water line goes between myself and Matt and Jessica, is that correct?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's down on the lower side of your lower pasture.
Right.
It's on the fence line with our property.
And then it runs uphill to all of our houses.
Yes. Yep. And I'm gonna go back, I told Jerry I would go back and talk about this. So he and my mom went up to the county because Jerry has a driveway on the end of, the south end of my property on the south, the most southwest corner. He has his property, Mom deeded it to him from his line down to Riverview Drive, is that the name of it? Anyway, it is deeded that way. Evidently, he brought this to me tonight. He called me today, and he said the paperwork was not done right. And I asked him, I says, well, you and Mom signed it. He said they did, and their signatures are on this part of it. But anyway, whatever it is, it's not right, but it will be, and he does have that road deeded to him, so he would never have to worry about it, and that goes to Riverview Drive. That was just to make sure Jerry did know, that everybody in here knew, if when I sell that property, that is his. And I had no, I don't know how or what, but I got the same paper, that work that he did when Mom showed me when she got it done, and I thought it was all taken care of at that time, the same as Jerry thought it was taken care of, and the same as Mom thought it was taken care of. Well, whatever the case is, we'll revisit it up at the county and take care of it.
So is that the road that comes down to Riverview Drive currently on the south side of your pasture? The south side of your upper pasture?
From Jerry's house.
It's
So
right
that was
before-
deeded, that was your mom's and then it was deeded to him?
Yes, that road was.
Can I say something too?
Hmm?
I'd like to apologize to these people as that line this morning when I come in here. If you could forgive me. Thank you.
But anyway, so the water line issues, we will find that when the road situations gets taken care of, if any, after you say the water meter can be moved.
And I believe that would be at his expense, correct?
Yes. And the PRV valve will be moved.
Would that be considered a reconnection fee or a connection fee?
I wouldn't think so, it's existing.
Right, but to move it,
But it's not a new connection. I guess it's up to the council.
well, yeah, I just don't know how to toss the pipe.
Well, we'll make sure the pipe is there for you, whatever kind of pipe you need, if that's what it takes. So at the very next thing I had was, I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead.
Another issue is the current water line that's under there sufficient to supply the additional fire hydrants that are gonna need to be out there, supply the houses? Is the current water line big enough for that project? And
They
does
said
need-
it is.
They said it's big enough?
No,
I agree.
we barely have 20 pounds pressure.
You need to pee harder.
What?
How big is the?
It's an 8-inch water line all the way out to Baduki's, and then it goes down to 6 or 4 at Browning's, and then it crosses under the highway at the sewer plant, and then it comes back along the highway and feeds the park.
Wow.
No,
So it was saying just that, and what he said they don't have very much pressure up there, that might be.
We don't have much pressure.
no.
Well,
I mean, if our
all of us will
hose
tell you
goes
that.
uphill a little bit, our sprinkler's like,
So see, that's part of this process, we'll get some of this stuff straightened around.
Yeah, but we're living with it. I mean, it's not like we're saying we want a bigger line.
No,
It's
but
been fine.
It's been all right.
But with 3 more homes, we would definitely
That's-
do something.
Some more homes
if
added to
there
it.
would be 3 more
It's
homes, it
water.
would lose a lot of
Yeah.
pressure.
but at the same time,
Oh,
so
yeah.
just,
Yeah.
Josh,
Yes.
will you guys check the pressure at these guys' house and see what the deal is then? Because if they don't have water pressure,
Yeah.
You can come in and look at my faucet down
The
the
city
thing.
only has to supply 50 pounds.
what's that?
The city is only required to supply 50 pounds.
Can you make,
50.
can you make sure that they got
We don't have
that?
50.
We get pulsating.
Yeah, it'd be good to know what they're before and then after, for
So-
sure if it was split.
So see, that's part of it, it is all part of it, to make it so you guys do have the right water.
Well, I mean, we're getting by with it for years.
But getting by, but if I do
Yeah,
any
it's all
changes.
right. Yeah.
but-
But if you go and put a bunch of houses on it and come off of that line,
Well, an 8-inch line with that much pressure should be able to take care of
we
it.
don't have an 8-inch line, at the end of Jerry's driveway.
There's not a line that goes to Jerry's driveway.
No. Up the road, there's a water line that feeds our houses, right?
The 8-inch goes along the fence is what he's saying, and then it cuts off and goes up to them. They don't have that 8-inch up to them.
Yeah, but whatever size water line was what was put in when the house was built, it may be smaller than a 1-inch, I don't know.
Well, I think it's one.
Plus, you guys also have a second line that runs to your house that's capped off under your driveway, so if yours ever breaks, then you've got another one.
That's the one we just had to fix, because it,
This one.
So is the council aware of where the actual water line is? Anyone on the council?
Yeah, I know where
It's in the middle of the road, correct?
I've seen it put in.
Yeah, I did also, but it's in the middle of the road. So if a bigger line needs to put in, an easement is gonna be required. Because the easement that was issued, if you look at the map, that's not showing it in the middle of the road. That's showing it, the easement was issued by your father. But that's not his land, so he couldn't issue an easement for that water line where it is currently located.
The water line was issued to Ben Jerry Smith, and I have copies of everybody that signed off on that. That easement down the road, all the way down Browning's, Floyd Heimgartner, everybody. except for me, because it was supposed to be on the other side.
It diverted.
Yes, sir.
An 8-inch water line is the second biggest water main we have in town. The only one bigger is a 10-inch water main that comes directly from the reservoir. The water facility plan includes development all the way down past Richlands, including fire hydrants. So if the people have low pressure, it could be because they have a small line, it could be because they have a pressure reducing valve at their house. Kathy told me herself, all of the faucets blew off of her connections when you turn on and off the main. So it's not a pressure issue. I don't think we'll ever have to replace that main unless
There's
something serious.
144 pounds right below you.
Go to the store, it will blow, it about blew the hydrant out of the ground when Josh and I were digging it. Literally blew the valve off. So, I mean, the pressure, it's not a pressure or volume issue.
Working on it.
It's more of a, like at your house, what you have at your house.
And it's
connected.
the size of your supply line.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got 8-inch lines all the way through town that feed
Yeah, multiple.
30 homes. And, I mean, the 7 or 8 that's feeding right now over here, 3 isn't gonna make a difference.
Okay.
But, so, yeah, it's either supply line or pressure reducing valve. Because you can only push water, so much water through a 7-inch line, no matter.
So it sounds like it's a maintenance issue, but at least now everybody is aware of it. And you guys know that hopefully it is a pressure reducing valve that makes a difference.
Well, I mean, it's all gravity, but obviously down here on Main Street, so you have way better pressure than everybody up here, 3 streets up.
Like they say, they have to have 50 pounds of pressure on an 8-inch line, so if you have 50 pounds of pressure on an 8-inch line, when it comes off to a 1-inch line, it's gonna have more pressure.
I'm just saying.
We have to have 50
People higher than the building have
pounds
less
at the
pressure than people
house.
down
Oh,
the
he said you have to have 50 pounds at the house.
Yeah, it's
So-
actually 150 or more in the main line, so.
Okay. So saying that, my next one was, is there any more to say about water lines?
So we know that there's that pressure out there already? Or we
We
do know?
can come out and double check for you, for sure.
Oh. Well, I mean, just, I guess I would want to make sure instead of just assume before you approve or move on, right?
Yes, you should, and that's the whole deal for this thing, to get
Right.
things straightened around. But
Because it's different to say like, this is what's required and then this is what actually there is. So I guess you would want to make sure.
Okay. Yeah, Kathy?
I'm gonna claim ignorance here and have to have something explained to me that the 8-inch water line goes this way. Your water meter cuts off from there,
Tapped into it.
tapped into it, so it cuts off to the side. That's the one that's being moved. And they've already said that the city is gonna move it, is that correct? Not you? And they've also said that you will be paying for it. But is that gonna in any way affect the water? Because I know when they've done work on it before, there's all kinds of grit and sand and all kinds of stuff that comes through. So, and like he said, one time, all of my pipes, 1 week before Desmond's graduation, blew out, and I had all my walls pulled off because I had no water in my house or anything. But it was my understanding, had they opened the end, they could have blown out all the pressure and the sand at that
That's what
time.
should have been done, yeah.
It wasn't,
No.
but they could have done it. And
No.
is that gonna be done this time?
With his, there's already a shut-off valve.
Okay, so you shut it off there and do whatever you
We
need to
shut it
do.
off,
Okay,
and then and then it's a 3/4 line, turn it on.
so it will be moved how far?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't even know what the plan is.
Okay,
But from what I understand is it would be moved uphill.
okay.
I just don't know how far or,
Right. But it won't be,
Up your property line a little bit.
yeah, it'll be going east or western.
because his, like you guys said, here's the main and it's tapped into the main.
Okay,
So there is a section before his meter.
I understand that. Okay,
Okay.
and I didn't.
And then, so all we would be doing is shutting it off there at the meter, pulling his meter and moving it further up the line.
And before we do any dirt work, I'd have a shut off so it wouldn't blow and have a goofed up situation. But- So the next thing is a TDS line. And the road underneath where the TDS line went. Since they were granted the easement, it sounded like,
Where at?
TDS line,
Through her property or down further?
no, on Old Main.
The city had some plan.
No, I was just saying, since there was an easement there and that road is caving off, and for everybody's sake out there, if I haul a load of gravel out there, I know it's not gonna go anywhere. But to make everybody aware of it or what can be done with that portion of the road and who takes care of it.
What are we talking
Where Jane had those cones
Yeah.
out, where it's sloughing off, where the TDS went over it, or whatever.
Okay.
Are they going to fix that, or is that?
Well, I think it's up to, well, we originally thought it was Jane's road, it would have been up to Jane to call, but now that I'm not sure, because the road doesn't technically belong to anybody, am I correct? I think the city could talk to the attorney to see if it's something that they could contact TDS about. I mean, I want to make sure.
Desmond probably knows.
Okay, so a road can't technically not belong to anyone. Roads are issued by survey or they're platted. Out there, they'd be issued by survey. So if the city says, has coordinates of a road that they own, then that's theirs. If not, the property owners who have their pins within that boundary would own that road. Now, for some reason, the GIS map shows that being a city road. Maybe the city obtained it at some point, I don't know.
Well, and the assessor, when we talked to her last time, said that it had no deed.
Yeah, when I talked to the county, they said it was platted, or it was blocked out as a roadway. So I guess you could call it a city road because it's a blocked out roadway within city limits.
So then we need to pursue.
So we need to find out for sure. So would it require another survey to find out who actually, that section that, because Ernie told Justin that Jane didn't, that her pins were on the lower side, right, Justin?
Yeah, they don't own the road.
Okay, so would it, go ahead.
Well, maybe. I think it's a big mess, honestly. I think Jim owns part of the road, and I think Jane owns part of that road, that lower road. Is how I would read it, but I'm not a lawyer. Because both of them would have boundaries described in their deed. And if the city has a description of the road, then it's theirs. But if they don't, I don't know how you would own a road.
You can own a road through adverse possession. But if that's what you guys are claiming, at some point you would have had to deed it. You would have had to give the dimensions, the description, and record it, is my understanding from the book of roads.
But the important thing is whose lot, who has to go after the contractor for damaging the road. I think he wants the road fixed.
That's where we're at.
If it's a city road, then the city is responsible for going after Summit for damaging the road. If it's Jane's road, that portion is Jane's, then Jane needs to go after it. But if it's ambiguous who owns the road, then who gets the damage fixed is, the city's claiming it's their road, right?
Maybe kind of
Only
sort
because
of.
Jane was saying that it was not hers.
Well, the city gave it.
Jane, go ahead.
The problem is, the property lines are straight. That road isn't straight. So if Jane owns to the road on this portion, but the road winds around, she would own a portion of it. If Jim owns to that portion, you see the issue?
So why
If it is a city road, then the city should go after Summit.
Well, I think that maybe the city should have its own survey, and then if it is ours, then we need to go after TDS or whatever, or Summit, or whoever it is. So what if, I'm sorry, Desmond?
Yeah.
So, do you know where the property line runs, cause if it runs down where it's not straight, so if just that section is
So
What if it's kind of split between two property owners?
But it is in some places.
and that's the mess that,
Yeah.
that exists by not having platted roads. So everything in the city is platted, nice, easy. The city knows exactly where they are. Everything outside of that has to be done by survey. That's why I don't know how the city could own it, but I'm not a lawyer.
That's also why all the problems exist with everybody's property out that way. But I know where my property is, and the reason I know where my property is because I am on a section line. People can be a few feet this way, a few feet that way, they can be wherever they want, they can be whatever they want, but I am on a section line. So that can't change ever. So people can be off on this and off on that, but the beginning of my property is very clear.
So this is a map that I.
That's an incorrect map.
The property lines are incorrect, but.
I'm going to refer to it. I'm not saying this is a dotted line, I'm just
Okay.
referring to it. So this is,
Do you think that?
if one of you guys wanna come up here, you can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Oh, you go. Hey, what, your phone, not me.
Yeah, I got
Probably with me.
So this is Old Man.
Yeah, so the way this is listed,
This way. This is Old Main right here, then see these two lines right here, that one and that one? That is the outside boundary of Old Main, and it's supposed to follow what Old Main is, but it stops at that section line. And where that section line is, that's where it stops, right here, those two lines. This is my property line, it's not exact.
Yeah, it'd be over slightly.
But this, there is no pins up here, that pin is down off the road. The pin was put up there all by electronics, it wasn't put in by the installation.
I did see you.
He said that there was, everything was really close to the asphalt. And that was, that line.
There's an 8-inch line on a private road. Yeah, it's right where that hydrant is.
Survey, must have been just before they did the asphalt. But he
Does that
said,
feed domestic houses?
Justin,
The line is here.
I don't know where he said that.
And there's 150 properties.
This east-west line is where the road stops. You saw it again. This is Old Main Street. This is
I didn't see him. Ernie went down past Kathy's house, down this bank. This is Jane's property.
So Ernie is Jane's son. Ernie's Dave's son.
I don't know, so maybe fix.
I should have seen you out there. And then they said, then.
Jerry.
So there you
Hellraiser, Jerry. I wasn't this morning.
Were you?
by a licensed surveyor.
Did you have my markers of her building permit issue for that, or did you really have to? Permit issue for the city? I work at I actually work at
Like Terry Golden, he's using the same, he's using the same. There's some
because he didn't give me anything.
over here in this cow pasture.
Main house is covered. Now,
The whole section 9.
So that is where they get this north
On his
south.
easement, West Fork Road, never heard of it. But if you pull it up on the, it's something Viola. And the description of it says, pull up Viola.
Like you said,
Right
that-
corner. I don't know if that has to do with deed on it somehow.
okay,
So that's the way we're
essentially turn right,
So I'm glad he's making it, that makes me feel better, because I got your way up on
Yeah, the State Street on the road.
Angel says, I've got great hair over this, I was pretty happy with this.
Maybe that 8-inch one.
But however the case is, it is in the, it is in the.
As it stands, I think you are
Well, it could,
responsible for
but it's
getting
not
PDS to
anything
fix it.
To the,
Because currently as it says,
east
it's
Thanks
yours.
for pointing that out to me, because I didn't.
City, sorry, yeah. If you go by just this parcel map, it's actually county.
this line,
City
these
road,
lines
my mom's property.
It comes up right here.
Yes, that's the end of the city road.
so these malls.
Oh, I know.
However, this.
Kathy, don't start
Is off this west.
Well, they dug it up.
But so that is where the end of that line is at the end of that section. See this pin down, cow pasture up there where they. And that is how Jerry's already. Over the end of the ridge, and they surveyed it, it was over 300.
Well, we don't even know what he's,
Last time he involved
The TDS only surveyed from
Just what affected me, it's all they surveyed.
Yeah, yeah, that right there is really good.
So that's one.
This one was Lee's over
For
one
all the
side.
city roads, there's nothing that
It is defined.
But, okay.
Or the way the parcel map currently stands, they're viewing it as a city road, it's county.
Yes. But if you go to the Idaho Public Roads and you read it, it doesn't exist unless there's a violation. You can obtain a road, exactly how you guys are thinking, through use. But if you're gonna do it, eventually you have to plot it and have dimensions.
Right, so we're all kind of.
So going
And I
forward,
want to keep that
Okay, we need to
as
get back the target audience back in the.
So it sounds like if we get that road fixed, sounds like what Nick was saying, we probably need to get a survey or whatever done to confirm that. Does that sound right? And then that way we know who has to fix it and then we know whose road it is?
Yes.
Because
And
it
then
seems
from
like,
that,
I think so too.
once that road is taken care of, the rest of it can
Right, it
continue
seems
on.
like,
But
right,
it's,
that's what my thinking is.
so what mine will be is that I will go to Cynthia, planning and zoning, and take a plan tour so they have some idea of what goes on. Or be blessed by them to put it in front of you to make sure it happens, or to see if it will happen. Yes, sir.
You got a plan, Jim, like where are
What's
you
that?
planning on punching the roads in? Do you have a dialed in plan?
So what my idea is, instead of making that corner where you guys make a corner to your left and go towards Kathy's,
Yep.
and instead of me going off my driveway and coming down and have to pull out across the road and make that corner with a pickup, I'm gonna push that towards those trees and just make that go straight up over the top of the hill.
Okay.
But everything will be flat, there will be no changes there won't be anybody not be able to get there. The road will stay open the whole entire time and we won't be on Kathy's property moving that either.
Now, are you punching the roads, are you selling bare land? Or are you selling developed lot? Like, are you gonna punch a road, where's the road gonna go?
No,
Like driveways.
and that, I wanna talk to you guys about that. I mean, to make it so it doesn't have the dust or dirt, and also make it so it has some kind of an entrance to the bottom. The top two, I was gonna talk to Kelly's to see what they wanted to do, and also to Jerry. I've already talked to Jerry about it, and he didn't wanna have the road go in front of him, so I chose not to. And it'll come off of Riverview Drive, and it will go, that lots get divided east and west, so there'll be a north and a south 1.5 foot piece.
So you'll just put like a road in between them?
No, there'll be one driveway for each one of them, so they won't, so they'll both be in charge of their own driveway, coming off of it.
So you'll just divide it and let them develop it?
Right. But also, I would also be selling it as a I even wrote this down yet, but for a single dwelling, not any, and I would put it to the city council or to the planning and zoning to be only a single dwelling, not a duplex, or any other thing besides that. It don't-
Well, it has certain limits on what can be put in agriculture anyhow.
I'm sorry?
There's certain limits on what can be built in an agriculture zone, and you're zoned agriculture out there.
It can only be a single family dwelling.
Mhm.
Do you have maps of like what your plan is
That's
for
it.
how it's gonna be split? For us to see, or,
Right.
it's really,
That's one not
Yes.
To me, it seems like you got the road, then you got this cutting off here, this cutting off here, and I'm sure you're gonna have it all written up nice and neat and everything. But because that involves so many people, and according to the ordinance for the streets and whatnot in the city, you need an engineer to do that. Am I right? Because there's gonna be so many homes involved. Anything over 4 needs an engineer, is what the ordinance said, I believe.
There will be an engineer taking care of it.
There will? Okay.
And that engineered plan will be given this into.
So is the plan to make that a city road then, so that it can be subdivided? And if so, we're back to the issue that my mom has had all along is, how does it go from city road, private, to city
They're
road?
going on the other side.
So the plan is to build a separate road up to city code on the side of her?
Right by my driveway.
So building an entire different road is the plan right now?
It would be not a complete different road, because a portion of that road is mine too.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that, but
And it will be on the edge of that.
that's the plan?
So the road would come up, go around Kathy's and come back down to Riverview Drive? Is that what you're saying?
It would go where you, on Old Main,
Mm-hmm.
on Old Main, you'd keep on, instead of, you know how you go, you turn to your left to go out onto Kathy's and back around, instead it would just go straight.
Straight, okay.
So there wouldn't be any corners and there wouldn't be any, I'm wondering if somebody's coming around the corner, he'd be facing them.
so the first lot, right, when you get to your driveway, you turn right and go back. That's the first lot, and then the
No.
pasture where you had cows is gonna be divided into 2, or all 3 will be where you have the cows there?
The one that's not for sale, nothing's for sale yet, but anyway, where my driveway is, that fence that goes up right there, everything on that side stays. The cow pasture on the
Right, so
south
this
side.
isn't your map, I don't know what this one is.
Number one.
Because this one doesn't have yours and
I'll show
Jerry's
you.
property, right?
No,
Oh, okay.
this isn't it at all. This is Old Main Street, and this is the corner.
So this is Riverview,
Private drive.
because this is mine.
I'm
This is
sorry.
right. Yeah, sorry, look
Well, how
at
about if we go like this?
Okay.
Sorry.
it.
There, now it is. This one is 1.5 and this is 1.5, except Jerry's is right here.
His road,
Jerry's lane goes right across here.
yep.
That is his. So this, and that's what I was talking to Terry Golden, for him to make that description, he had to make sure that that line was, that property was his.
So this area right here will be divided into 3.
2, one here, and one here.
Okay, okay, so there's 2 and then this is the 3rd. I see, okay.
Yes, sir.
My question's for the council. If the road is being built to the side of her to become a city road, who's taking on the liability? I'm sure you're a completely great construction worker, but if something happens and it affects the road that's currently there, who is the city taking on that liability by him developing it through the city road?
That's what my insurance is for.
It's currently a private road.
It's
No.
a private road right now that he's gonna be working on to bring it up. So as long as it's a private road,
But
he would be liable. Then if it's, once the city accepts.
I think we just went through this with Hammond not too long ago, so I think as long as he's building it, it's all on him, and until it meets all the standards and the city actually accepts it, then it becomes a city road. But while it's being built, if any damage is done to your road or anything, then it's on him for that. And until the city accepts it, once it meets our standards, then it becomes ours.
Okay, then my question is to Jim, how are you gonna do that?
I've already got the equipment up.
How are you gonna put that road over there
I
without
said I already
affecting
have the
me?
equipment up there.
Excuse me?
I already have the equipment up there. The one piece of equipment I need to make a road good enough for me to drive a truck up there that won't be going onto your property, so I can finish what the project is. But at the same time, before I do any of that, I have to get an okay from Cynthia and then from her, the city council.
But no, you don't have to get okay from me when you're working on your private property and your road.
I don't have, I don't?
No, you don't.
Oh, I thought I had to give it to you first, I thought that was what you were talking about.
No. I'm just saying, your work right now, you're talking about making a road that's straightened out, so it's all on your property and not in Kathy's. That does not have to go to planning and zoning to do that. That has to go to the city council, and they have to decide what they want on that.
Well, good. See, that's what this meeting's all about, learning something.
So what happens if you put all the work and money into that road and the city decides not to turn it into a city
I'll have
street?
one pretty driveway.
And section 12 says that in order to sell it in lots, so that it has to be a city road, but they decide not to accept that.
You see,
I mean, that's a lot of eggs in one basket,
you see,
unless you already know they will.
yeah. But you don't have to come to us to work on your road on your own land. But then when you're talking about subdividing or anything, then you come to planning and zoning.
Okay. There, Desmond, now I know which direction I'm supposed to go. So, Kathy, Desmond, and Mark, you guys are very instrumental in this meeting. Is there more that, not just you guys, but I mean, I want to make everybody happy.
I'm just a bystander.
So I'm kinda curious, if I decide to dig on my property, I gotta come and ask you guys?
That's not the question here. The question is, he's gonna be bringing heavy equipment over my road unless he stays completely on his own property.
Well, no,
And
no,
that's what I
what I'm
was
saying is, if he, Cynthia said that he has to come to city council.
To get it accepted.
Oh, yeah, at the end, I understand that. Okay, so whatever he does on his property is his.
It's his property.
But then, okay, but then I'm confused, because if he does that on his property, then do we drive on that road, or do we drive on the other road?
You
I
can
mean,
guess.
like, so,
So the road, it'll be like a widening, not a different road.
okay. Oh,
Because
okay,
he's just gonna turn and go up.
okay. It'll just be a
And
line.
you just keep going on that.
Okay.
But the road that will go to these other lots will be, those people will still drive. Even though you'll turn and go up, new
Right,
people
they'll
will still go down the road.
Fair enough.
Jim, you know, when you talked to me here a month or so ago, I asked you finally what you were selling those for. Was that a certain price? The lot right above my house?
That,
Or did you just throw that figure out?
no, I've talked to a realtor and that's what he said I'd get out of it, but.
Undeveloped.
What?
Undeveloped.
Yes. Yep, yep. But that was the three prices. But if, at the same time, if somebody wants that, I would, the whole deal is the same as everybody here. We all want to retire. And that's where I'm gonna retire from. And I'm not moving, I'm staying there.
We already
You're already retired? What do you mean? I was gonna ask you to ride a dump truck. Go ahead, Kevin.
Likewise, I'm not going anywhere. I've been there for 37 years and counting. I'm not going anywhere. And all I want to do is protect my land, and that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to, that's it.
I did.
So does the council have any plans on just fixing this by getting an easement? So he doesn't have to build a massive road on the other side?
To figure out what's going on first.
I feel like they have a whole list of stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Are we
I
working
don't know
on-
how many times you want to talk about, are we gonna do an easement? We don't know until we talk to the attorney. The attorney's not here.
Great.
So we'll bring that.
So what
eventually.
will happen first, probably, I would assume, is that these guys are going to do a bunch of investigating and figuring out what needs to be done and making easements where they need to be made, and if there's any suggestions, if you guys have any words of wisdom, I mean, that's why you were voted on, is because you guys have words of wisdoms. And you have any? If it could help things out, or just wait until after you visit with your attorney about it.
Have patience, stay calm with each other.
You don't get irritated so easily.
Perfect. I agree, that's how come, that was the very first thing I said.
Yeah, I mean, and
And
one thing that during this meeting is, everyone's getting aggravated and upset, and I've been on here 5 years, she's been on here 14 years, Nick's 8, Jeff is new. We don't know all the rules or the guidelines or regulations. I mean, we do have to research it. Wendy knows quite a bit, Bonnie knows a lot, Dick's been around forever, but we still have to research it and still have to figure out what's right and wrong. We can't tell you yay or nay right now. That's not what this meeting was for anyway.
No.
No, and what you're saying, it was a learning situation, and that was the whole idea.
Because to ask me where a city water line is, I don't deal with that. I mean, I could ask Josh and Justin, but I don't know where that stuff is. I couldn't tell you where a property line ran.
Well, Jim, you know, I know you're a good guy and everything, but it is your land. To be honest, we all kind of live out there to have the space, you know, and we live, so, you know, I was a little abrupt with you too, because I'm not gonna lie to you now, I don't like it, but.
No, you told me that in the first place. I don't like it and I don't want you to, but you also had said, you said, I understand. And it's the same way with anybody in here. If they're wanting to improve their life or change something, at the same time, I'm not gonna put 15 houses up there. I'm not gonna put a sewer in there. I'm not gonna make it so it's completely outrageous. I mean, 3 places up there. Look at how nice a place you have. I don't know if you're on 5 acres or however many acres.
Yeah, it's 3.
But talk about nice. I mean, it looks really nice, and to have somebody be on an acre and a half, I would expect them to have a nice place too. You can always dream of people having nice places and taking care of it and being kind to each other, and that's why it was important to me to address everybody in here as being neighbors.
Well, it's probably not really a city council issue, but I don't know for sure, I mean, there was hearsay of what your price was, and now I think, did you say that that price was for all 3?
No, it was for
the lower.
Right.
Okay, I mean, because, I mean, maybe it would save everyone a whole lot of work if you just threw out your prices and see if your neighbors want to try to purchase it.
Well, if that was the case, I'd probably even drop it.
Well, I've been asking you for a year, and you haven't responded to me.
And the reason was because I didn't, so when I told you I didn't own it, I did not own the property till December 23rd. And that's when I could actually say something about any of it. And I couldn't do anything about any of it because all the property lines were goofed up.
Right. Still are.
Well, the property lines are all staked, and that is where they will be stayed, because they could go off electronics, and just like Jerry's, I mean, he was right in what he did. The fence came down over a dirt ridge where it should have gone. When he and I were putting that fence way back in, we wanted the easy digging. But what he did, he put the fence up there on his property, and he should have. I was too busy, or I would have helped him. And you know what? It took 350 feet off the top of my property. But it doesn't matter. That is what was right, and I'm glad he did what he did. At the same time, on the bottom side of that, past Matt and Jessica's house, that's 19 feet off. Not at the very bottom corner, but almost to the end. It makes a jog, and how they get jogs and property lines around here, I don't have any idea. There was somebody that had a crooked foot, but whatever the case is, all the property lines now, it was all done by a licensed surveyor. And the only reason I even had it surveyed is because I was going to put a house down there so I could help Mom and Dad. Or help Mom, rather, because Dad was already gone. But then when Mom said she'd rather move to town, I bought a place in town, and that's when we swapped the property. And that's how everything got turned around as far as this property lines go. And where that property line is, Justin, where it's on the edge of the asphalt, that might have been way back then. But now with the electronics, once a survey line is put in, if somebody has a discrepancy against it, they have to get a surveyor as well. And if those surveyors don't match, then both parties on each side of the line have to get another surveyor, a third-party surveyor that has nothing to do with it, and he has to survey it.
Expect that.
Huh?
Expect that.
I can understand, I'm sorry. But anyway. So is there any other questions for anybody?
So at this point, we're just waiting, we'll hear back from city council when they talk to the city attorney
Right.
about all these issues, and then we go from there.
So, yes, Ms. Bonner? You had a question?
No, just a simple comment that, a lot of this stuff doesn't have to do with the city. So, it would be nice if you don't come in and yell at us that there are issues. That's what Jim's there for. Maybe I'll just have a barbecue and you get together and have dinner and talk. So,
Well, I do think
You know.
everybody did really nice tonight. I appreciate learning more about what the city has and what you guys have and what you all want. Yes?
I hate to keep complicating it and come back to stuff, but on the invitation that we were given, it very clearly says that you were gonna widen that road, and then in this meeting here, it sounds like you're not gonna widen that road, just widen your driveway, is that correct? Cause the road, I thought, had to be so many feet wide. That was my understanding.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk to Cynthia to find out what is acceptable by the city or what her ordinances are. I'm going to put it to that to make it so it's safe for everybody. At the same time, I'm going to put a turnaround after I talk to Matt and Jessica, because it's gonna affect them guys the most, where a turnaround would be so it doesn't get dusty. The other part, it will be rocked, and the other part, it will be oiled. Not paved, but oiled. But I don't, when somebody has an issue of dirt, if I'm the one creating it, I'm gonna try to stop it.
But they aren't my ordinances, they're the city's ordinances.
Oh,
And they're on mine.
You are here being the face, and that's kinda like a salesperson. You face the music when you go to it.
Well, I'm just letting you make sure you understand. They're the city's ordinances that I'm reading. And, you know, anytime you go online, you're right.